Hello and welcome back. Today's February 16th. It's Friday and we're here with basically AI news and also nonsense to end your week. Happy end of Valentine's Day candy time.
The hangover day.
Yeah.
The day when you pee like 18 times a day because your insulin levels are trying to balance out from what you did yesterday.
That's from kidney failure.
And that has nothing to do with AI, does it? Except maybe I suppose that your AI bot will eventually be doing your dialysis for you in your home as it cleans and cooks. But we can't get there without all of this happening.
Google rebrands Bard chatbot as Gemini, rolls out paid subscription. It's almost like they launched Bard with no real idea or any clue as to what they were doing. Now, the Gemini subscription, I was pretty ready to just make fun of it and just mock it openly. But if you actually subscribe to Google Drive, it's not that bad.
You get the Google One
Yeah.
subscription with it, which it's kind of like Amazon Prime giving me videos.
Yeah.
I would never buy Amazon Prime videos, but if you're just going to throw them in.
Sure, I'll check it out. Yeah.
Unfortunately, from just running a few experiments with it, it's so locked down that it's completely useless.
That's going to be true of all of them.
I mean, It's just, there was a thing that it was bad.
Speed running, any percent,
Yeah.
ruining what made it useful.
Yeah, it was really good I've pasted you a spreadsheet. Can you guess at giving me a reasonable JSON schema for this? And it was like, here you go. And it had a reasonable answer for that, but everything else was worthless.
I tried to get ChatGPT to take a list of JSON and simply reverse it. It took it like 20 minutes. I had to click continue like 5 times, and I was like, why is it so bad at this?
You hear a rustling in the bushes.
My favorite thing that I've learned to do with these models to test them, to like figure out how good they really are, is to ask them to play a game of rock paper scissors and ask it to go first, and then ask it to explain why I keep winning.
Well,
because it doesn't understand.
They might be just dumb chatbots right now, but if OpenAI has their way, they're going to be much more than that. They're going to be integrated more and more into our physical world.
OpenAI developing software that operates devices and automates tasks. The information.
Jobs will be okay though. Don't worry about that. Don't think about that.
Just like 2 years ago when they said, AI's not going to take jobs.
It is. I have to say though, like, in terms of like the Star Trek universe coming real, one of the things I always struggled with in Star Trek The Next Generation was when they were talking to the computer, and it's like, is it not a foregone conclusion that like consciousness is going to come out of that? And now large language models is like, oh, I see. I understand. If enterprise computer is basically a glorified large language model, I kind of get why they weren't worried about it becoming conscious.
I don't think Roddenberry saw that coming.
No, but it is amazing that he was accidentally that right, though, don't you think? I mean, that's impressive.
I still don't buy into his solution to gravity. That was a little too easy.
Yeah. Or transporting things. It's just like, oh, I think it's going to be a while before we can slice you up and put you back together.
Every planet has atmosphere. Really, Gene? Really?
We know that's not true.
Well, the ChatGPT store, of course, now has the custom GPTs, which really don't seem to do a whole lot from my experience. But they did it, so everybody else has to do it.
Hugging Face launches open source AI assistant maker to rival OpenAI's custom GPTs.
I like that picture.
I also like that picture. I bet it's AI generated. They probably did not pay a real artist for that.
They're doing that.
Stole it from someone.
They're doing that because of people in our next story who would seek to supplant OpenAI's throne of sorts.
Wow, it's interesting you say that because they accredited this one. This was a Mid-Journey picture.
Yeah.
Even though this is a character that you would think there's going to be all kinds of pictures of, they were like, no, let's create a new one.
Meet Smog 72B, the new king of open source AI. It's a 72 billion parameter model based on some other model that has been fine-tuned, but it is from a fully open source trained data set thing.
And according to Hugging Face's benchmarks, #1. So this is almost as good as the paid production models. Not quite, but it's better than GPT 3.5, for example.
Talk to me when they get Glorung.
Is that another dragon?
Yeah.
Was he better?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
1v1, you think he wins?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because he's much more manipulative.
Well, it's combat, though.
Yeah, but he, like, enchanted people with his voice.
Engagement challenge.
Smaug kind of does, but he also just does it on Bilbo, and Bilbo's, like, not great. But Glorung does it on like people who are actual warriors.
Do both of them have breath attacks?
Yes.
What?
Fire.
Both fire?
Yeah.
He could have been a little creative there, don't you think?
Well, I mean, there's not that many dragons.
Well, there's lots of dragons now. Do you know how many
Well, I'm saying in Middle Earth, like in
the Dragonlance model? There's like a billion different colors
Yeah.
of dragon. There's as many dragons as our iPhone cases. And Apple is actually tentatively trying to get into the AI world as well. You got to give them credit here. They came up with something unique rather than just doing the image generator.
Apple releases MGIE, a revolutionary AI model for instruction-based image editing. This is the number one request. They're probably looking at all the failed Siri requests. It's like, Siri, can you edit this photo I just took to do this thing? And Siri's just like, what are you talking
Siri,
about?
make me hotter.
So this tiny screenshot kind of shows you. You feed it an image.
It's for ants. It's so small.
Here's the one where they said, take this image and give the screen should be on a green web page. So it's smart enough to take your text, manipulate your image.
This is just like the enterprise computer. Remember those? It's like, we're solving the mystery, and it's like, computer, do this, and then enhance. And it's like, those are AI-generated details.
Well, I bet this is also just like the enterprise computer because of the holodeck. Because I'm sure when you got some holodeck time, a lot of requests were similar to this. Maybe a little Commander Troy instead of Tay-Tay.
Graphic Taylor Swift deepfake AI images have been linked to 4chan challenge.
Was that surprising to literally anyone?
Surprising no
Yeah.
one.
Counselor Troy, how bad were you biting your tongue just then?
Yeah, I was replaying the episode where Barkley got caught with Troy Crusher and who was the other one? I forgot. I'm drawing a blank because my mind wasn't in
Was
that
it
gear.
the security officer?
Yeah, probably. And they were all on the holodeck, and it was like, what are you doing? This doesn't even make. That Jordy was there, and Riker was there, and and then Barkley fell asleep on the holodeck during that, and then they had to come get him, and it was deeply embarrassing.
You'd think that the holodeck would have an alarm.
No one is that irresponsible in the 24th century.
Siri, set an alarm for 30 minutes.
Yeah. It was just wild that somebody would be. It's like, it's just unthinkable that somebody's this irresponsible on a 10-kilometer whatever.
But yeah, apparently it was a unified effort to overcome the safeguards. Yeah. So it wasn't just like they weren't trying, although I don't know how hard they were trying, but people were actively trying to defeat it, specifically with Taylor Swift.
This is why Bard is useless. Oh, I'm sorry, Gemini.
And if you think that, like, well, you know what? My business model is actually just crime. So I'm not
You're
worried.
Say crying. My business is just crying.
I'm not have to worry about AI taking over my job because my job is literally something that AI will not be allowed to do. Well, don't be so sure.
Inside the underground site where neural networks churn out fake IDs. It's called OnlyFake, which is just amazing. I wasn't really like teenagers have been making fake IDs since IDs were a thing, probably for 1,000 years or more. Don't you think?
Did we have identification? Also, probably the restrictions on teens weren't there 1,000 years ago. I was like, yeah, just do what you want, and we're going to do what we want to you as well.
I'm reminded of the scene in The Life of Brian where the centurion is scolding Brian for getting the Latin wrong when he's trying to tell the Romans to go home. It's just like, yep.
Also, teen was like midlife back in those days. So.
Yeah.
I mean, the life expectancy was shorter, but I think that was also like our average is skewed because so many people died in childbirth or when they were really young because of disease.
Yeah, childbirth when they were teens.
Not always, no.
A lot of times. Well, deepfakes, we talked about the other one where it was in the commercial setting. Now we have a quasi-government setting.
World's longest serving central bank chief targeted by deepfake. Oh man, who is the executive there was it was the Japanese minister for technology, didn't use a computer, like had his assistant do email. He's the prime target for deepfakes.
It was AI, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the AI czar. This guy's from Romania. I think it was Romania, right? Yes, Romania. And so his deepfake was, he was like touting some suspicious financial products. So they had to come and be like, no, the central bank does not recommend financial products. Please don't fall for this. And if you are defending the fact that your phones are faking photography and just pulling the images from the internet, most likely, what can you defend that with? You have to give it up to this guy. He went hard and he found a solution.
The quote is, "There is no such thing as a real picture," says a Samsung executive.
I think he got taken a little bit out of context, a little bit.
The context of this was that Samsung recognizes when you're taking a picture of the moon and it just fills in a known picture of the moon that is very high resolution, and you're just like, wow, this phone camera is amazing because you can see all the detail in the moon. And so he was saying that the sensors and upscaling in AI, it's like you lose track of what the sensor actually saw and what it expected to see.
And when it comes to seeing things and AI seeing things, expect a lot more of your just day-to-day life to be accidentally captured and then later reviewed by AI.
Police departments are turning to AI to sift through millions of hours of unreviewed body cam footage.
Why bother? They're just going to delete it anyway.
Is this supposed to be like the broken...
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's a aesthetic choice.
This looks like VLC when my mechanical hard drive isn't spun up yet. Yeah, so they got all this body cam footage and they have to keep it because obviously if somebody complains or there's, something comes up later, they'll go back and get it. But now they're just going to turn an AI loose and look at all that. That's dark. And this is maybe a little bit darker.
Artificial intelligence helps predict whether antidepressants will work in patients. Not really fully understood, but it's more accurate than a coin toss.
So they're going to give you some drugs, which no one knows exactly how they affect every individual person. But they're going to give them to you right off the bat. And then a couple of weeks later, they're going to scan your brain again. And they're going to be like, AI, is this working?
Doctor, I'm not feeling so good.
Doctor, I pretty much think about unaliving all day long. No. The AI says you're good. Double the dosage. Oh, and the robots, they've tried to kill again. This
They've
time,
got a taste for blood.
Fortunately, they failed.
Waymo driverless car strikes
Cyclist. It
bicyclist.
should be cyclist, I feel like.
Strikes a cyclist in San Francisco, causes major or minor injuries.
Bicyclist.
Now, the other version of this that I read was like, oh, they're going to have to go to the hospital, but it was just minor stuff.
This person was following a semi-truck closely. So the car couldn't see it until the semi-truck had passed, but it was already in motion.
Mm.
So that was probably bad things going to happen no matter what.
A real driver probably would have hit him, right? And Boston Dynamics, we don't hear as much about them anymore. Remember when they were the robot company? But they haven't been sitting on their laurels. They have been working hard.
Boston Dynamics Atlas tries out inventory work, and it gets better at lifting. 30-pound car strut and carefully manipulates it. So
there's a link in this article where they talk about how it absolutely destroyed the wood, which the first time they gave it its little clamper claws, they had to go pick up some wood, and it was just like crunch. Oh, back to the lab on that one.
Imagine if that had been a human skull.
Oh, it's thinking about it.
And F's in the chat, at least for a little while. For about a month. Maybe not forever, but at least for a month.
Japan's moonlander snaps this eerie photo, and it could be its last.
It looks like the skin of a potato.
It's upside down.
It was on its side, and now it's upside down. It's like Kerbal Space Program.
So the lunar night is 27 days. Will its little upside down solar panels collect more at the end of that time? It's a mystery.
It's dead, Jim.
And if you're at sea, sometimes I think about just walking away from it all and becoming one of those merchant marine people where you just go out to sea and you don't even see other people for 6 months. Seems like a really bad job, though, like a nasty job. But one of the worst things about it, you don't get internet until now.
SpaceX tests using drone ships to support Starlink coverage at sea.
Your mental health might take a big jump up, though, not having the internet for 6 months.
Could be true.
But now you don't have to worry about that. You can just keep churning that garbage right into your brain.
That endorphin fasting thing, I've not had the willpower to do it ever, but I've thought about it.
But just like not getting on the internet for...
You don't do any screen time. Basically, you just sit and stare at a wall. Remember there was a story we did where a guy went to do like a 30 or 60-day cabin trip to do his endorphin starvation, and he came back to the pandemic.
Oh,
He didn't know anything about it.
oh wow. I had like a mini version of that because I was on a backpacking trip that weekend, and everyone like at the start we made a joke like, "Oh, did you guys see that thing in China?" And then like when we came back, everything was shut down.
Remember when it was all just memes?
Yeah.
In the beginning there, like January, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And it wasn't.
It was not fun.
And it's not going to be fun in our future of unemployment, which is what this is moving us further toward.
Autopicker robots from Brightpick to automate the feed Dr. Max warehouses. So basically a mini version of the Amazon warehouse that's a little bit more organized and a little bit more consistently sized products, and it can just go pick and assemble whatever you need.
This is a pharmacist robot. It's all about the pills. Soon it'll be able to package the pills, deliver them to your home robot, who will shove them down your throat to make sure that you
Your
comply.
cooking robot.
Yeah, it'll mix it in with your food.
Oh no.
Or that's one timeline. Maybe timeline number 2, the aliens show up and save us from all of this.
A Harvard astronomy professor, Avi Loeb, thinks that he has new evidence of alien spacecraft. Actually, well, in the paper he just says, here's what we found, and even like the volcanic, there's a popular theory, but he debunks it for like volcanic ash, like volcanic spewing, man-made stuff kind of thing. Doesn't really fit. And so he just says, here's what we found. Here's the composition. Here's the ratios. None of this really fits with what we have on the planet or in the atmosphere. What is the explanation for this?
Well, you're kind of skipping a lot of stuff there because you got to go back to, he found some perfectly spherical balls, which had come from a meteor, or at least he says they did.
Yeah, well, no, we did track the meteor, and the meteor definitely came from, 80% chance came from outside the solar system.
But we don't know that the balls came from the meteor.
Right, yeah.
So then he presented his balls, and the scientific community took a look at his balls, and they were like, nah, bro, that's the Earth stuff. And so now he has systematically gone through and claims that he's proven that it's not.
Yeah, those scientists said, well, this is probably an Earth thing because blah, 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 and he tested for blah, 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 and it was not negative. But he's also trying to get more money to go back out there. He spent $5 million collecting these, and he's like, we could probably collect a few more of these, with a larger expedition. So he's like, please give me money. I think that's okay. That's reasonable. They also tried to collect the same kind of balls outside the track where the meteor was supposed to explode, and these samples like these were not found in what was collected outside the track where the meteor was, but nearby otherwise.
I want to believe. Here's our nothing burger of the week. What a pointless story.
Oh, the headline's even misleading. The BBC's headline is Inert nuclear missile found in man's garage. That is incorrect. A shell was found that could carry a nuclear warhead, but was in fact empty in man's garage. And
So it's literally just a metal cylinder.
Yeah.
A fuselage, yeah.
Yeah.
They called the cops, and the guy was like, yeah, go look at it. Well, I guess it's not just a fuselage. It also has the booster on it.
The guy bought it from an estate sale of one of the rocket scientists that worked on it.
What state was this in? That's like the most Eastern Kentucky thing I've ever seen. Because you see
Washington.
Wow, you see this kind of weird stuff all the time at like thrift stores and.
That would be an amazing thing to have in your collection. Is like, yeah, here's the rocket that I worked on that carries nuclear warheads. Yeah, I would totally. That's just
Display that in your house, your garage.
He wasn't doing that, though. Like, he just had it.
Well, that guy bought it from the guy that died, or the estate of the guy that died.
I mean, wouldn't you though? Like, if you saw that, if it was a good
Yeah.
deal, you check the estate sale sites all the
I
time.
would not buy that.
Well, if you see something like that, let me know because I totally will.
But I don't want you to hoard it.
You do have a lot of.
You're going to put it in this office.
That would look cool behind us though.
Yeah.
Moving on to nonsense.
Maybe hang it over the stairwell.
Oh, that'd be safe.
That would be cool though.
Do a little education news. This is a news section I've been adding because we have so many scandals in education these days. This was not quite a scandal, but maybe a admission of failure from the previous few years.
I read the headline. It's college to reinstate standardized test requirement for class of 2029. And this is an absurdly huge number of words to say that the people that we're letting into college don't really actually want to be in college. And don't have the education level that we need them to be at in order to teach them something useful for life skills.
And we're leaving the smart ones behind because we don't have any way to measure them other than all this useless stuff, all this, DEI stuff that doesn't actually measure someone's performance. So we've got a bunch of dum-dums on the campus now.
I should send you a video. There's a video of when I was reading this, I meant to go try to find it and send it to you because it's from like a year or two ago. There was one of the local universities, like one of the professors that had been there for a long time, like he got up in front of the faculty senate or whatever, and he's like, look, I'm maybe 5 years from retirement. And I was like, I'm just going to say something that I've observed, and it might be uncomfortable, but it's like a lot of the kids that we have coming, like they want vocational training. Like they want us to teach them how to do something with their life. They're not here for higher education. They're just here because there's nothing else for them to do. They
need a paycheck.
Yeah, it's like, is this not an uncomfortable truth? Like, does anybody else see this? And like he said some things, and it made some people in the room irrationally angry. And he was like, I'm just asking questions.
Well, that's because there is a massive tumor on higher education and research. And that is useless people who are just there. They're just part of the bureaucracy. They're also not interested in higher education. They just have jobs that they don't really have to do anything, and they can perpetuate it.
The headline is Paper Trail. In the latest twist of the publishing arms race, firms turning out fake papers have taken to bribing journal editors. Like, why is this even an economy? This is science.org. And you read this, and it's just like, we're screwed.
Because you can't get funding without having a paper. So before, they were paying to get your name put on a paper that you had nothing to do with. Now, just straight up fake the papers.
You need funding to survive now, not funding to further society.
And I think I'm on week 5, poop story.
You found a good one.
Yeah, this is something that I think about, but I think I'm settled on the fact that like you need some resistance in your system, right?
Yeah.
It's also it's your own stuff.
Yeah, you need to just sort of microdose yourself. Sometimes
Poo particles.
This is an easy way to do it.
Ars Technica's headline is, should you flush with the toilet lid up or down? Study says it doesn't matter. And confirmed by Mythbusters, they did this
I was
experiment.
going to say, this sounds familiar.
The fecal coliform bacteria. And it's bad.
I love, they got some great pictures in this article.
Poo particles.
Where they measured,
Yeah.
and the poop was everywhere. And then they tried to find out what was in it, and these little creepy crawlies in there and everything.
I've heard that like they've also like swabbed like the bottom of women's purses if they've put them down in like a bathroom, and they also are like covered in that stuff.
Shoelaces.
I thought about here's a product idea for the Level 1 store. A really bright UV bulb
No.
that comes on when you leave. So like we put an ESP32 in it and some presence detection, and it's like no one is present in the bathroom. I'm good to turn myself on for 30 seconds. It'll just murder everything. It'll be real hard on your surfaces, and it'll probably fade your paint.
I thought you were just wanting like people to just like see the filth, and I was like, I don't want to see that.
No, it'll
Your
kill
disinfect,
everything.
yeah.
A homeless person is going to nod out after doing heroin in your bathroom, and it's going to mistakenly
Fry them.
Yeah.
Listen, if it's a 5 kilowatt UV laser and it vaporizes them, I'm not going to say that's a design feature, but
I mean, somebody's going to ask some questions, I think. The other interesting thing about that article is the solution, according to them, was to buy a lot of these new disinfecting products. So I wonder if, like, maybe
Weird how that happens.
Procter & Gamble might have had a few
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah.
And this week we're blessed with a second poop story.
Mount Everest climbers will need to bring their poo back to base camp because the mountain is covered. It does not fully decompose, and there are so many people climbing Everest at this point. It's become a real problem, according to the Sherpas.
This is how it works on a lot of our western mountain ranges because it's too dry. So like if you go up to Mount Whitney, you have to have a wag bag. You carry your poop down.
What a fun weekend.
The article has several paragraphs describing what sound like delightful, like apparently it's like baby powder and a whole bunch of stuff in a bag, so it makes it not an entirely unpleasant experience to carry it with you.
To poop in a bag.
I've never had to do a wag bag, but like end of the week after you've been putting your toilet paper in a bag, that's not a pleasant.
I love the new word in my vocabulary from this headline.
The
They should patch it into Cyberpunk 2077 immediately.
But the other thing about the Everest thing is once a year they do a a poop sweep. Like you go and carry it back out. What an awful trip that would be.
It's wild that they haven't made people do that before.
But I think it's the Sherpas that do it.
Well-
In the annual.
Oh, for the annual, but like it's wild that they didn't have rules about that previously. Like, because like I said, here in the U.S., there's pretty strict rules about you're supposed to carry it out.
So the billionaires that go up now will have one extra Sherpa, the honey wagon Sherpa.
Ugh.
What a great job that'll be. And yeah, this is a new kind of business, I guess. They've created something entirely unique.
Inside Berlin's, get ready for this, Cybrothel. The world's first AI brothel using virtual reality. Yeah, and animatronics.
I don't think they're animatronic yet, though, right?
Yeah.
I think she's just your traditional. What's the company that makes these really hyper
Real Doll.
Real Doll, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's probably flagged.
but
Yeah.
they are working on VR where you're looking at the doll, but then the doll is interacting with you through the augmented reality.
I don't believe it's possible to disinfect an apple.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, that to me, that's kind of like one of my big blocks against actual brothels, right? The cleanliness. I don't want to share that. Here's a ray of hope, though, for any of you that are missing digits or limbs.
Bionic woman is the first to have robotic limb merged with bone and controlled with her mind.
Neat.
She lost her hand in a farming accident, and now she got all these. Look at all those attachments.
I always thought this kind of technology where like we're getting everything reconnected, and it would always be really short-lived in the history of mankind, because you would, as soon as you get this kind of technology, it seems like you would almost have like limb regrowth technology a short time later.
The tech tree, like in RimWorld.
Yeah.
Some would argue that if it exists, would be suppressed.
It's like, no, well, what if it's just really gruesome? It's like you can totally have limb regrowth, but we got to regrow the whole person. We make sure they're brain dead, but there's a U in a jar somewhere.
That you can harvest for other parts.
Yeah, it's like we're harvest the kidneys, the eyes.
Elon Musk would be like, I want 3.
I'm pretty sure that the world's billionaires probably already have something like that, given the rumors of like the blood transfusion parties.
Well, it's certainly true that the world's billionaires get treated than the rest of us, but so do the poorest among us.
City says man killed by police in case of mistaken identity had no constitutional rights because he wasn't a citizen.
What about human rights?
Yeah, this is just like the most amazingly terrible. This should not, like, just kill it all with fire.
I'm a little bit torn, just slightly torn on this one, though, because he was a 3-time deportee. Just kept coming back. But it was the mistaken murders of the police. We have to start doing something about that. We won't, but we should.
Oh, they'll just find loopholes like this.
Someone that would come here 3 times certainly idolized it into something that it's clearly not.
Or benefited from it in a lot of different ways that he recognized was worth the risk. Over in Iran, I don't know if they have problems with their police killing everybody. They probably do. But they do have one big problem, and that's just how happy everybody is.
Iranian cleric complains of too much joy amid soaring depression rates. Did they have the internet over there?
Is he just personally happy? Like,
Wouldn't that make it worse, though, if you could go on the internet and see how the rest of the world lives? And then you see how you have to live? So the crazy thing about this was the number one prescribed medication over there was antidepressants and sleep aids. So they're all having that existential misery that we are.
It do be like that sometimes.
I suppose that's something that could bring us together, right?
yeah.
A commonality. And another commonality that seems to be among everybody is the lack of desire for Nikki Haley to be the president of the United States.
The CNBC headline is none of these candidates defeats Nikki Haley in Nevada Republican primary. Like, what?
So if you don't know, if you've tuned out of the politics, which I could certainly forgive you for, they had a primary and a caucus. And the primary doesn't matter. And Nikki Haley was really the only big candidate that I think bothered to be a part of that. But even then, she didn't win.
Oof.
To be fair, if I could vote for no politicians, I would every time. These British headlines.
I love this.
Yeah,
This is
I
amazing.
read this and I was just like, excuse me?
That's really like they're speaking a different language. I feel like we don't get these from like we had the Netherlands article, we had Norway.
I'll give you the translation as soon as I'm done with the original. Sunderland Tesco thief stole 22 tubs of Lurpak worth 95 pounds while on suspended sentence for cheese raid. The American translation is a supermarket thief stole 22 tubs of butter worth about $115, give or take, while on suspended sentence for stealing cheese from the same grocery chain.
He loves dairy. What can you say? How crazy is it that 22 tubs of butter is worth $115?
That is nuts.
God bless technology for being able to pinpoint, and like he didn't make it very far either. They were like, "Oh, we know who this guy is."
Do you think he was getting that, what is it? Is it Kerrygold, the really fancy butter? That's what he was buying.
I do love the Kerrygold. Their packaging is a little off because it always tears because it's like stuck down in there. Kerrygold, you could do better with that.
Every time I read Lurpak in that article, I was getting images of Lur from Omicron Persei 8 from Futurama.
Everybody else was too. And to the Great White North, we have a man who studied the blade and could no longer contain the power that it gave him.
Screaming man swings samurai sword around in Vancouver traffic, and a Walmart was evacuated as a result. Listen, some days, like, this is perfectly understandable. Some days, you just have a bad day sometimes.
Is that a copper?
At least he wasn't shot.
It's definitely metal.
If this was America, there would have been like a busload of police, and he would not have survived.
And I don't know if this was one of those situations. A lot of fast food places there for a while were like, just buy this special card and you can eat here every day, thinking that no one would be that crazy, right?
And yet,
After eating Chipotle for 500 days, an Ohio man says that he's ready for something new. Listen, it turns out that, I had no idea Gotham City was in Ohio. It turns out that Batman's retirement was too much in the stock market, and this was a great way to save money for a while. Or he was, undercover. I don't know.
Why would Batman eat Chipotle every day?
That's Bruce Wayne.
Oh, was that guy's name?
Yeah.
oh, bless his
Oh, right. His name is Bruce Wayne. You think he changed it?
No.
Well, not really unfortunate, but kind of funny.
But what's funny is he was going to break the record. He broke the record at like 460 some days, but he was like, you know what, we're going to go to
I'm
500.
still good, yeah.
I could eat Chipotle every day. There's enough variety there.
I don't know if I've ever had Chipotle.
Current economic conditions would dictate that, yes, this would be.
But it wouldn't be cheap.
I think P.F. Chang's or somebody else did that, and it was like $2,000. Oh, it was Olive Garden. It was like $2,000, and so many people bought that, and they were just like, "Oh no!"
But it was unlimited soup and breadsticks.
That'll get you.
And you could just go every day and die of a heart attack in about a month.
He also talk about inflation. I guess because he's been doing it for so long, he only averaged about $10 per order, and they took that $10 per order and figured out they donated $4,000 to his favorite charity as a way to reward him for his insanity.
Yeah,
Was he going multiple times a day, you think? Or was he just getting one big meal?
Yeah, it was $10 a trip, $10 a day.
But this was an amazing amount of PR for them. Like, just.
Oh, we're talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just.
Yeah, more than $4,000.
Yeah.
And here's a man who needs no PR, but apparently his beloved status in the world is not enough to fight against Post Cereal. Big Cereal shutting him down.
And Snoop Dogg and Master P sue Walmart over cereal sabotage claim. And this sounds unhinged but apparently they've got a lot of video. This would be a fun thing to try to get Snoop Dogg to talk about on a Twitch stream or something.
Now, I've never seen this.
I've never seen this either.
There they are, the Snoop cereal, Brodus Foods. His real name, of course, Calvin Brodus.
What's the one that we always talk about? Magic cereal or whatever?
Magic Spoon.
Magic Spoon.
I haven't been hearing them as much on the podcast.
I see him pop up on actual store shelves now.
Well, you won't see this.
There's video of Walmart having pallets of this stuff in the back, but their inventory system reporting it is out of stock.
Now, why? You beg the question, why wouldn't Walmart want to scrape, rake in those Snoop dollars? It turns out Post wanted to buy Brodus Foods. They wanted to acquire them. They played the Apple game where they met with him and they're like, we would love to purchase this from you. And he's like, no, I think I'm going to do it. And then post flexed their big cereal muscle and made sure that all major retailers shut him down.
Big cereal.
Well, that's the allegation. We
Big
don't
grain.
know yet. But they actually have some really damning video, apparently. So this will be interesting. Multiple Walmart locations just not stocking it. And it's hard for me to imagine Walmart participating in a conspiracy as barely functional as they tend to be. But okay.
I'm really tempted to look for it now.
I could totally see like Post calling him up and being like, listen.
You need to hold this for this promotion. Okay.
And, Wendell, you are an involuntary vegan.
I am.
But vegans are not popular people.
No.
We'll subtract you from that because again, you're not doing it
It's
for
fine.
a
We're just
sanctimonious reason.
punch him 1-2 there.
No, I'm saying a sanctimonious vegan.
There is a really interesting bifurcation though, because like there's a lot of vegan foods that try to approximate non-vegan foods, and generally I find those disgusting.
Yeah, everybody does, which is why they would walk into this restaurant, be told that it's vegan, and walk out immediately. So
Macclesfield vegan restaurant to serve meat due to rising costs. Culver's Beyond Meat burger is more expensive than a real meat burger, interestingly. I still prefer the black bean burgers, though. Those
It's just something that is just beans or,
those are good and low cost.
I don't want your fake meat.
yeah, this guy, but he also points out that the vegan meals were very expensive.
Yeah.
A lot of times they are.
Yeah, I've got some fake cream cheese, and it is just the most adulterated processed food thing ever. But it does actually reasonably approximate cream cheese.
How expensive is it?
It's like 2.5 times as expensive, and the brick is smaller.
The brick. The cheese brick. Have you noticed how many articles today have had Taylor Swift on the sidebar?
Because it's free clicks.
And the Super Bowl is coming up. Actually, it'll be done by the time you guys see this.
We should start using her in our thumbnails. It's like Taylor Swift reviews new
Not
Asus.
not even anything to do with her. Yeah.
But this is not about Taylor Swift. This is about an adorable cat.
Rescue cat refuses to eat food unless it comes with a side salad. That's because this rescue cat is used to only eating human food.
Bless its heart.
Because it probably had a rough upbringing where it didn't have cat food. And it feels the need to eat everything, but that includes vegetables. I don't know. You ever try to give Cricket vegetables?
He's not real keen on them. The food he hates is peanut butter.
My cats will sniff them. I always let them sniff the vegetables before I wash them, but they've never tried to bite them.
No. Yeah, Cricket's not into it. Rue always wants a blueberry, but then if you give her one, she'll like put it in her mouth and just hold it there, and then she goes, and just like spits it out.
I don't know what she's trying to communicate there.
She doesn't, like, she wants it, but she doesn't really
It's
want
probably, it's like, I see that that's shaped like dog food.
it. Oh, yeah, and I see you're eating it.
Yeah. Now, here's another, this is a BBC headline. They're usually not as bad as the other ones about the British headlines, but a catapult here. Is that a slingshot?
It is.
Yeah, like a trebuchet.
What an insane, why would you call it a catapult?
Well, that's what it is, historically.
But when you think of a catapult, you're thinking of something much larger.
Yeah. SWAT attacks. 4 more killed by catapults if you're not in the U.S. or slingshots if you're in the U.S. in Surrey and Hampshire. So there's a bunch of kids attacking swans with slingshots. And they're talking about outlawing swing shots or...
This one was BBs. They had a BB gun, air rifle.
I mean, I don't condone it, but also swans are really mean. So
Yeah, but these kids are going to the swan's place.
and bothering them,
Yeah.
They shouldn't do it, but swans are mean.
Swans are mean, but you know what they're not as mean as? Crack-addicted bears. And if you're thinking, I've never heard of a crack-addicted bear, neither has anyone else.
Florida lawmaker says bill to loosen rules on killing bears is aimed at the ones that are on crack, quote unquote. It's hard for me to believe that Florida has a problem with bears, but growing up, I can think of almost a dozen bear incidences where it was like, okay, you should probably go hide in like an interior room that doesn't have windows while we deal with the bear situation.
There's a elementary school not far from here that had to reroute all their buses because a bear was coming to the dumpster every day.
Now, do you think that this guy may have seen the movie Cocaine Bear?
and now thinks that's reality.
Projected that? The other thing that they point out here is what he wants is a bill that makes it legal to kill bears. They say he's an avid hunter on his social media. And he says you need it to protect from the crack bears But if a bear is invading your home, it's already illegal to kill them. Like a human. You can stand your ground against the bear, so.
Also, I don't know about Florida, but like we do offer hunting licenses for black bears. It's a very small amount and it's a very limited season, but it is a thing.
Well, this guy doesn't want that. He wants constitutional bear murder.
Yeah, I remember one particularly egregious, like there was a bear getting into the chickens when I was like 7 or 8, and it was doing it like it had like put all of its points into stealth. So you would wake up in the morning and it's like, I didn't hear anything last night, and it was just
The chickens did.
a murder scene. And it's just like, how did it do that?
Based on that stealth, I would say that's probably a bear who's not on crack.
Yeah, that's a very methodical bear.
That bear's like, I smell chicken and I want to eat.
And in fact, getting rid of that bear required a bear trap.
Well, once upon a time, a bat tried to choose Krista
It tried.
and to accept her in the world of
That was a rough week.
of bat friendliness, becoming a bat girl, and she just brazenly got rid of it, rejected it. She could have had this life.
Family tormented after nearly 80 bats infest their home. Now, I was expecting to read this as like, oh, they're a protected species, you're just gonna have to deal with it. But no, they were just like, it's hard to deal with them. We're gonna nope out.
Also, rabies.
Yeah, that's a
which,
real risk.
You know, if you get it, you die. That's a tough one.
I had to threaten my landlord at the time, saying, will you pay for my rabies test if I get bit by this bat? Because they didn't want to come out and deal with it.
I have a similar situation here, although the landlord has agreed that something does need to be done about the bats, but they haven't done anything yet, or at least at the time of publishing.
They tried to tell me it was a mouse at first. And I was like, a flitter mouse, maybe.
Mouse with wings.
Yeah.
What do you do? They're living with neighbors because they can't go back to their bat home.
No, you can. I mean, even though they're a renter, you can have an exterminator come out and then just bill the landlord. That's fine.
Are you allowed to exterminate the bats?
It depends.
They might have a service to move them at least.
Yeah, the exterminator might know if they have to move them or whatever. But again, landlord's problem.
My cats would love that. Can you imagine little cricket?
Oh my
turning
gosh, he'd
loose
lose
in it?
his mind.
Yeah.
He'd be so excited.
Trying to get into the attic.
He loves it when a moth gets in.
Oh yeah, stink bugs.
Yeah.
Moths. Bats would just be. Although a bat could probably mess a cat up in the right circumstances.
I don't know, the bat that came in my apartment wasn't like aggressive or anything. It was just like freaked out because couldn't figure out how to get out.
You weren't trying to kill it.
Uh-huh.
You weren't a natural predator trying to kill it.
That's true.
I wonder if the cicadas will freak out all the animals this year because there's supposed to be a lot of them.
We have a little bat box in our yard. Never had
Will
a bat.
bats eat cicadas, or are they only fruit eaters?
No, they'll eat anything.
It's going to be a huge year for bats.
I got to get some cameras set up because the squirrels, the last time we had cicadas, and that wasn't even as many as we're going to have this year. Like, the squirrels are going to be
Fat.
hilarious.
It's funny that we'll all be unemployed and starving.
But it'll be a good year for wildlife.
Yeah, the robots will be taking over, but for the squirrels, best year ever.
That'll be Patreon floatplane exclusive content. It's
Woo!
just squirrels eating those.
The squirrel's gone wild.
Oh, is that it? That's our last story.
That's
All right.
our last story.
We will see you guys next week with more, hopefully, good news. Bye.